This border, which Manipur shares with Myanmar, it is one of the key highways which connects Southeast Asia with India. So we are kind of gateway to Southeast Asia. Whatever reasons, maybe monetary benefits, and there's a whole nexus which is going on out there in terms of not just pop drugs, but also drugs, arms, and there's a lot of nexus between different other key elements of it. So yeah, it is definitely a concerning factor.
Have you come across any misinformation being spread about Manipur which you can share?
Misinformation shared about Manipur. Are we talking about the current context or
No, current context.
in generally or
Current context.
Current
The conflict.
Yeah, the conflict is that it is. There has been a lot of misinformation, especially in the Western media, of giving it a completely religious color to it, of Christians being attacked by the Hindus, churches being demolished by the Hindus. But likewise, there have been atrocities on the other side too, where temples inside the houses of the Meitei households have been burned down. Limitless, more than 300 plus temples. Never seen, being a student of international relations, this has been the best period, I would say, for India's foreign policy. We have evolved in the last 10 years. Now we are going into the next 5 years, and I think there is going to be continuity with our External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar. He is also one of the key players, in further I would say, enhancing the vision of Prime Minister Modi and his current government.
வணக்கம் பேசு தமிழா பேசு viewers. We பேசு தமிழா பேசு and Tamil Nadu Young Thinkers Forum. We warmly welcome Shristi Pukhrem from Manipur, Deputy Director, Academics and Research of India Foundation. We welcome her to our studio. Welcome to Tamil Nadu.
Thank you so much for having me here.
So, you are from Manipur. We were searching for someone who can speak about Manipur, give us a broad idea of what happening in Manipur. Just a little bit of introduction of what happening in Manipur. Can you just say it for our audience to understand the present situation in Manipur?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's indeed a pleasure joining you today. And I never thought that I would be sitting in Chennai talking about Manipur. It's quite a distance, speaking about it. But Manipur, when we talk about, it has been much on the news for the last more than a year, but not for any good reason, I would say. Why is it happening is Manipur has gone through, I would say, a very strong struggle in terms of for more than a year now, and we have not yet come out of it, I would say that, because the situation is so complex and it needs much more efforts from all the stakeholders, from all the communities of Manipur, and we need to pay more attention to this state of India, which is, of course, like a very small state in the northeasternmost part of the country, but yet it is a very important state. Yes. So the situation is still not as normal as it could get. It's slowly getting back to normalcy, but we have a lot more to do there, I would say that.
Where did all this begin from? What was the starting point for all these violence, etc., which is happening?
So to begin with, the situation in Manipur, the conflict which happened, has very different dimensions to it. I do not wish to dwell much on the nitty-gritties of it, but what happened actually is what Manipur has never seen before. Definitely Manipur has witnessed a long period of insurgent movements and a long violence stricken. There have been a lot of clashes between different communities also, but a conflict which has prolonged as long as this between the two communities of Manipur. So one should remember first that there are three big communities in Manipur, which are the Meiteis, the Kukis, and the Nagas. So the conflict which occurred a year back and which is still not resolved till now has been between the Meiteis and the Kukis. So it is a very complex situation. But what we should focus now is not dwelling much on.
Into the past.
Yes, exactly.
We
And we
have
should rather open it more, that what is the way forward? What can we bring on board? Is there a solution to it or is there no solution to it?
as common people of the nation, common citizens of the nation from the rest of the country. How do we look at Manipur? What's the solution and what's the way forward? Is a dialogue only solution ahead, or are there any other possibilities of restoring peace in the state?
So, very interesting question. I would say that dialogue is the first step. It is not the solution, it is not the ultimate solution, but that will be a big first step that we need to do. But dialogue, not just between two communities. Definitely the two communities which has been involved in the conflict, they have to be the key stakeholders, but it has to be a dialogue between all the other participating stakeholders of the state. And it should be a local owned, I would say, the dialogue should be a local ownership. The people of the state have to be the key dialogue initiators. Then only there will be a way forward to it. Unless and until we do that, unless and until we bring them on the same platform and have a dialogue, I don't think we can think of any other solutions.
Are there any measures by the present government which is being taken in Manipur to keep the situation under control? Any significant measures the government has taken?
So, in terms of measures taken up by the government, of course, the government has been keeping a very close watch on the situation which has occurred the conflict which has occurred more than a year ago. And there has been a lot of efforts also, I would say, by the government, by many other agencies of the government. But has the government done enough? I don't have a reply to that. Maybe it needs to do more, I guess. It needs to take the ownership of that what is happening in this part of the country. As I mentioned earlier in the introduction, that despite with this of the small size of the state, it might be, least familiar to many people in the country where Manipur is located. But Manipur's location is very much in a strategic, I would say that location of the state where it shares its international borders. And that itself is a very important strategic component of why the government and, the other stakeholders and the agencies should do more in trying to resolve the situation there.
Is the situation better from where it started, or it's worse than where it started? How do you compare both the situations?
To me, I would say that it has not got to the best level of, I would say, very pleasant situation, nor it has got worse. But I think time has, kind of gone by too long, that it is time now that we take serious considerations. Not that there hasn't been efforts made earlier, but we need to find a definite solution to what the state is undergoing. Let's just like for an example to talk about it. We have about more than 60,000 plus internally displaced people. That is just one community I'm talking about at the Meiteis. So how do we, think about their relocation? How do we again relocate them? And I mean, they have lost their house. They have lost their source of livelihood. What is it that they have to? Is there anything that they have to look forward? I mean, they must be having a blank space on their minds, right? That what the future holds for them. They are just stuck in the relief camps. So we have to, find a solution. I know it will be a time-taking process, but I'm sure that we will get there soon.
I heard the insurgency is mainly fueled by the poppy culture which is providing there. How influential is the poppy culture in Manipur?
To talk about poppy culture and about the root, very interesting thing, as I said. That's why I always refer back to where the location of Manipur is, how it is placed, because Manipur shares border with Myanmar, 390 kilometer out of the 1643 kilometer which India shares with Myanmar. So it has this border, which Manipur shares with Myanmar. It is one of the key highways which connects Southeast Asia with India. So we are kind of gateway to Southeast Asia. So this poppy culture which has come into being is more because of the easy movement of drugs, the easy movement of trafficking of drugs. And it is not just from one side of the border, it is a two-way traffic, right? So that has cultivated more, and that has added more of, I would say, fuel to the fire. Like, because it is like for whatever reasons, maybe monetary benefits, and there's a whole nexus which is going on out there in terms of not just drugs, but also drugs, arms, and there's a lot of nexus between different other key elements of it. So yeah, it is definitely a concerning factor.
Is the Manipur issue so complex for us to understand with the with little information available online? Is it very complicated to understand?
It is very complex to understand, but it is never too late to understand. If people definitely, put in efforts to understand the state and how it has, the problem has evolved in the due course of time, it is definitely complex, but the complexity of this problem will further make one understand the state and how, we can work on it together as a nation.
Have you come across any misinformation being spread about Manipur which you can share it now?
Misinformation shared about Manipur. Are we talking about the current context or
No, current
in
context.
generally
The
or
current context.
current
The conflict.
yeah, the conflict is that it is one misinformation is it is not a religious conflict, that that the say dominantly, just for the viewers, for the knowledge of it, I would say that Meiteis are dominantly Hindus and Kukis dominantly are Christians. But there has been a lot of misinformation, especially in the Western media, of giving it a completely religious color to it, of Christians being attacked by the Hindus, churches being demolished by the Hindus. But likewise, there have been atrocities on the other side too, where temples inside the houses of the Meitei households have been burned down, limitless, more than 300 plus temples. So I mean, that kind of misinformation we need to avoid if we need to calm down the situation a bit, because giving a religious color to it adds more fuel to the fire.
We knew that fake news card which was being circulated caused so much damage. Is that true? Because of one fake news which was circulated, the naked parade happened.
Yes, definitely one of the factors is fake news. Yeah, definitely one of it. But also, it was just a simultaneous occurrences of incidents. And one should understand that at that point of time, what is the frame of mind of the local population? They are so triggered by even small incidents, because they are not just physically, displaced, they are mentally displaced. So they are not in the right frame of mind where they could kind of I should say, like, move forward with a rational thinking. So that emotional trigger, that anger, and everything it adds to it, and then fake news, definitely that is one of the factors, but that is not the only factor, I would say.
Just the catalyst.
Yes.
Okay. Uh, we heard that many Tamil people are residing in Manipur. What's the condition of them? Are they still residing there, or have they fled from there?
Coming to the Tamil population in Manipur, many might find it surprising, like, that how come there is a certain section of Tamils living in, like, who could have thought, in the most northeastern part of the country? But the history of it goes a long way back. I wouldn't dwell much on it, but just to give you a brief sense about how they came about was, as I mean, I'm sure the viewers and you yourself are aware of the Tamils. Many of them were residing in Myanmar, which was earlier Burma. And then what happened was in 1962, when General Ne Win, who took over as the military ruler of Burma, he kind of started a new policy of nationalist employment, of just employing the Burmese community. So that kind of drove away not just the Tamils, but a lot of Sikhs, a lot of Biharis from Burma. And that movement happened, and a large chunk of it, they crossed over India, which came from the Myanmar border, which Manipur shares, and then there is a small border town called More. So More is the town where the maximum Tamils are located in Manipur. But right now, because since the conflict situation has occurred in Manipur a year ago, there has been a lot of displacement of Tamils too. This is just conscious movement. I guess in the fear of attacks and atrocities, many have fled the state. But there are still a certain group of Tamils which are still residing over there.
A small number of
A
people.
small number of Tamils, yeah.
Okay. You yourself coming from Manipur, now you are residing in Delhi. Can you tell us a brief extract about your journey? How did you start your journey and from Manipur to Delhi? What was your vision? What was your idea? Then how did it just happen?
Yeah. So that's a very long story, actually. But going back to my journey, it's not one of a kind journey, but still, to share with you, I would say that my journey out of the state, it began since my school days, since my high school. And why it occurred so that during that period, there was a very strong, I would say, insurgent uh, activities happening in Manipur. And my parents thought that, because there were a lot of bans, there were a lot of blockades happening. And it kind of, I guess, made them think that, thinking in terms of education, I might get better opportunities if I, go for my further studies out of Manipur. That's how my shift happened from Manipur to Delhi. So my family resides in Manipur. All of my family
Even
members,
now.
yes, even now. They are all in Manipur. I visit home, 3 to 4 times a year. So that is where I always go back. But this journey has been quite an experiential, I would say that, because it kind of nurtured. I'm not talking just about my educational, growth or professional growth, but more of my personal growth. But in spite of the growth, I had also a same, equal number of challenges which I faced coming to a new state, coming to a completely new city, and where, it's very different from where I come from Manipur. Just for example, in terms of physical features, I don't look any close to anyone who comes from Delhi or anyone residing in Delhi. So that was the first thing which occurred to me as as a school going child, newly shifting to Delhi. Then slowly it evolved into college and university. But this has been, I would say, like I mentioned, a very learning experience, but yet challenging because of a lot of things. But I guess it just made me stronger, in the long run. Yeah.
So, what are you doing currently?
Right. So currently, I'm working in a think tank called India Foundation. It's based in New Delhi. I'm the Deputy Director, Academics and Research, currently with the India Foundation. Uh, my focus area of research as a think tanker, where I look into, is mainly the Southeast Asia region, India's relation with the ASEAN region, and maybe in the larger, more larger spectrum of the Indo-Pacific. So that's where I focus my research on, not just about academics. We do a lot of dialogues, we do a lot of advocacy work. So it's been an interesting journey, I would say.
So as you said,
Mhm.
yeah, you won't dwell much into Manipur. We
Yes.
can dwell a little bit into this international relation.
Mhm.
Now the G7 summit has happened. Ukraine peace summit is going to happen.
Mhm.
What will be the outcome of both these summits? Are these summits really useful, or just they are meeting and discussing and they are just dispersing?
Mhm. So, just to mention about the recent one, we just concluded, and our
G7.
Prime Minister just got back from Italy after attending the G7 summit. That has been quite a successful summit for our Prime Minister. There's the first outgoing visit, after his swearing in for his third term. So, it's a remarkable, I think, start to what the next 5 years holds for us. So, G7 summit, and like you mentioned about the Ukraine Peace Summit, which is going to happen in Switzerland. So, these summits are not just talk shops, they are definitely very, I would say, rigorous. And also, it kind of brings in all the countries, key stakeholders, to have a beneficial dialogue. And that's very important to bring them all in one table. Besides the G7 summit, we also saw that there were a lot of bilaterals which was held on the sidelines of it. Our Prime Minister met with almost all the important leaders of the world. And that definitely added more to what we are looking forward to, what is, the centrality of it. Yes, there was definitely mentioned of the importance of the global south that we talk so much about right now, and where India is one of the key players in global south. So in G7 we see, but there are again newer areas where we talked about in G7 summit about AI, about,
Yeah,
yeah. So
semiconductors.
exactly. So these are the key and I would say emerging areas where India is also kind of, paving a vision that these are the priority areas that we are also going to look ahead.
Asked the question just
Mm-hmm.
because many
Mm-hmm.
people have that particular criticism. In G7, in G20, in every meeting, you are doing something, you are discussing something, but there is no follow up till the next summit. What's your view on it?
See, what happens behind the bilaterals, that even I don't know. But the thing is, there is definitely a lot of work which goes on pre summit, post summit. And we saw, like, just to cite an example, was the massive success of the G20, which
New
India
Delhi.
hosted. Yeah, that was one of the remarkable, summits which any country could have hosted. And one very, like, one small example I'll give you, that what kind of defining feature this summits come into being is the inclusion of African Union as the newest member of G20. Who could have thought, So
I
there
think
is,
Modi recommended it.
yes, exactly. And it was passed with an ultimate majority resolution. And finally, AU is a member of G20. So that is one of the, main, I would say, achievements of it. So we cannot ignore the fact that there it's just talk shops, these summits are, and there are no, I would say, results out of it. Yeah.
How do you look at the present situation in the Indo-Pacific region? Both India and China, they are trying their maximum to extend their dominance over that region.
Mm-hmm.
Who is going to win ultimately?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. So, the Indo Pacific region is, I think, one of the most interesting region in the current context, in current times. It's like most, as one of my,
Across the globe.
yeah, across the globe.
Okay.
Here, I would just want to cite whom I consider one of my, most whom I look up to as a mentor, Dr. Ram Madhav, that he always says Indian Ocean region, the Indo-Pacific where it comes in, is the most happening region. And it is indeed the most happening region in the world right now.
There is something happening every day.
Every day there is something or the other. But that also, it's not like you say, a competition which is there. Definitely, China and India are very much present there in the larger framework of things. And it's not about who is going to win or who is going to lose. It's about, how this uh, region is going to shape the new order, the new world order. How is it going to be? Like, I'll just mention about this of India's centrality in it. India is the convergence point. India is there right in the Indian Ocean, and we are rather, not could be, as one of the key stakeholders here in the Indian Ocean region. And we definitely can be the convergence point of all the countries who are coming together.
With respect to the Indian Ocean, the dominance, India is definitely a dominant force in the Indian Ocean. But a major partner, Maldives, just drifted away from India. They are having some ties with China. Isn't it a little bit of a defeat for India?
I wouldn't consider this as a defeat, nor uh, I would respectfully disagree with what you mentioned
Okay.
about, Maldives drifting away. Yes, there has been concerns with the new Maldives government coming into, of certain, actions taken by the new government when that was in November 2023 when President Muju came to power. But one thing I would like to cite here is, you must have also witnessed his participation in the recent swearing in of our Prime Minister, right?
Yeah.
So that shows how much of an importance India gives to our Indian Ocean neighbors. Neighborhood first, and again, Sagar, security and growth for the region. That is our two key focus objectives that we look forward to, and that's how we plan to engage with Maldives at the same time. Definitely, Maldives, the current dispensation in Maldives there are concerns prevailing, there are opinions prevailing that they are leaning more towards China.
Okay.
India is in no position to kind of contest that, oh, we are enemies, or we are at, this thing loggerheads with Maldives because they are kind of cozying up to China. It's nothing like that. So one should understand that here, each of us are single actors. But again, when it comes together in a region, we have to see the dynamics between all the actors, be it India, be it China, be it Maldives.
You have been closely following the international relations, etc. How do you rate the foreign policy of the present Modi government? Take last 10 years.
I would say I have never seen, like, being a student of international relations, this has been the best period, I would say, for India's foreign policy. We have evolved in the last 10 years. Now we are going into the next 5 years. And I think there is going to be continuity with our External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar. He is also one of the key players, in further I would say, enhancing the vision of Prime Minister Modi and his current government on foreign policy. And one interesting aspect of is, you might have heard of the message that we are conveying to all our partners in the world, to all our the key players in the world, that Vishwa Bandhu is
Yeah.
what our message is to the world now. And we are working towards that, not only as a Vishwa Bandhu, but also Viksit Bharat. So, it goes kind of like, these are two things which has to go together, which has to walk together in achieving Viksit Bharat, as well as India being a Vishwa Bandhu.
More than a Vishwabandhu, we are aiming for a Vishwa Guru now.
Yes.
So, do you see we are in the right track?
We are on the right track. We are very much on the right track, and I'm very much confident that, that the next 5 years will not only, pave new pathways for India, but it is going to be a strong element of India to be one of the key players, like I'm repeating again and again, but one of the key players in the total global world order.
Do you think India is slowly moving towards that Vishwa Guru status when Australian PM calling Modi, he is the boss. Then Vladimir Putin calling Modi, he is doing what's right for his country, and Mexican president, etc. How do you look at these statements?
It's very, I would say, positive message coming out from all
We
the,
have never witnessed it earlier.
oh, maybe, I guess. So, but the thing is, before we, like becoming Vishwa Guru, uh, I would again go back to the statement of that, Vishwa Bandhu is a very important element that we have to work towards too,
Okay.
of strengthening our ties, and then, achieving certain goals with in terms of partnerships with countries, or in multilateral forums, in multilateral organizations, and all this. So uh, days are not far, but yeah, we are working towards that.
Okay. Coming back to the Indo-Pacific region, we are a member of Quad. So we are actively countering China through Quad. How effective is this Quad initiative?
So the Quad is a very interesting element. Uh, it is a very interesting forum, and also it is not an alliance against China. So it is not about defeating China. Quad is coming in together of the four like-minded partners: India, US, Australia, Japan. And it has been, working towards achieving certain goals and progressing further. In fact, the next summit is to be hosted by India. Of course, the dates are not yet announced, but it should be sometime soon when the next Quad summit happens. But India has been very, I would say, committed to this initiative.
So now we are becoming Atmanirbhar, etc. Even in military expenditure, we are cutting down expenditure. We are now largest exporter. We are becoming exporter of military equipments, etc. So the way towards the Atmanirbharata, how do you see that? Again, are we on the right track?
We are, yeah. I think we are. It's like not just on the way. We have achieved to a certain extent in terms of Atmanirbharta in all sectors, I would say, not just talking about, defense, of military, but in many other sectors, we are kind of Atmanirbhar in many sectors. So we are definitely on the right track. We have achieved rather, yeah.
So, with respect to countering China, China is now is on their expansionist phase. They want to expand territories, claiming Arunachal Pradesh. This, how are we going to counter them?
It's about like, tensions with China has been always there, and I till the border problems are resolved, we definitely have different levels of talks with China, commander level talks happening every now and then. But till the border, skirmishes do not come to a certain halt, we do not see much of a progress between the two countries, because, like, right after the new government took over power, the key two questions which were being raised to them was about China, one, second was Pakistan. So, and but these two are our most important neighbors also. We share immediate borders with both of them. But one thing we should also remember, that when we talk about China, we also cannot completely succumb to certain actions of China, of, naming certain parts of Arunachal
Arunachal
Pradesh,
Pradesh.
which is an integral part of India, as, their territory. That is totally unacceptable, and we take strong stance against it.
Coming from Northeast, you'd be a better person to answer it. Have the Chinese occupied a certain part of Arunachal Pradesh now? Or is it just a social media creation that they have occupied?
It's not about occupation of territory. It's
Some people are claiming that
yeah.
China has occupied certain parts of Arunachal Pradesh territory after Modi has took over as PM. Is that true?
Not to that extent, I would say that, because, okay, there has been a lot of construction happening in the border areas of both Arunachal Pradesh border, sharing borders with, uh, I wouldn't call that China, I would call that Tibet rather. So,
Okay.
yeah, that is more of, I mean, that takes a different level of conversation, I think, yes.
There was Chinese influence in the entire northeast region earlier. Is it the case still now, or the Chinese influence have drastically reduced?
Chinese influence in terms of, uh, like,
Their influence in the entire region of northeast.
I don't think there has been Chinese influence in the northeast region of India. One has to be very clear about the role of Chinese and the role of certain elements in the northeastern region of India. First thing is the northeastern region comprises of 8 states, right? And each,
Including Sikkim.
including Sikkim,
Okay.
I'm counting. So they are not a homogeneous unit. So each has a different characteristics of its own, each of the state. And I know where it's coming from in terms of when you're talking about Chinese influence. There has been certain elements
Fringe
of,
elements.
yes, of trying, where China has tried to play its hands on more in terms of certain anti-state activities, anti-state movements, because you are well aware of the insurgency history in this region, right? So definitely, I wouldn't, uh, completely disagree the role of China in it. There has been Chinese hands in it, but yeah, not influence in terms of the population or the states as such.
The insurgency situation, is it better now, or it has it worsened? Because we can see one of the oldest insurgent unit in the northeast, they have surrendered their weapons, and they have signed some MOU with the Indian government, and more insurgency like outfits are going to follow them. So are we witnessing some anti-insurgent activities?
I think we have kind of evolved into a very not completely like achieved a solution to it, but a certain peaceful environment in terms of insurgent movements, insurgent groups and activities. Like you mentioned rightly, they're surrendered, they have kind of agreed into a lot of ceasefire agreements. But one aspect that I just want to, kind of highlight here to your viewers is there are also resurgence of certain insurgent groups in, especially just to give an example of my own state, Manipur. Few of the groups which had been quite dormant are again kind of,
Okay,
a
they are
resurgence is
waking up.
happening. Yes.
So we have come to the final part of this podcast. So any message you want to tell our audience, because you are from Manipur, and each and every viewer of us, they are so curious about Manipur. They want to know what's happening in Manipur. Your one small message on behalf of you to our audience.
Yeah. My message would be very simple. I'm just uh, like speaking from where I come from, is that Manipur is an integral part of India. It always has been and it will be. And it is time for the people of throughout the country, throughout the, I mean, all white and, margins of the north, the south, the west, to understand what Manipur is about, what the situation is there. It's not about just, sending in relief aids or packages or certain items, but it's about even a sense of empathy, even a sense of trying to understand that the existence of a certain population here, of this state, is very important, and it should be, accepted that it's an integral part of India, and further understand what, that's the whole beauty of India, right? Of the diversity. Each one of us is different from other. Like, for example, Manipur and Tamil Nadu, there are a lot of similarities in
Like,
terms of, a very interesting, I would say that when we talk about food habits, when we talk about a certain way of like the banana leaf thalis, right?
Ah.
So even in Manipur, we have a culture of that. In our rituals, in our ceremonies, our food is served
Served
on a banana leaf, and it's in the same, kind of the arrangement which is done. So there are like minute similarities, which is very interesting to understand in terms of worship of gods, in terms of how we address our elders, in terms of festivals and certain practices and beliefs. Like there is again, I would say, in terms of similarity of ancestral worship also, right?
Okay.
Which is also there in our culture. So such similarities are there. But one message is that only even a sense of, little understanding, trying to understand Manipur would be a big, I would say, benefit to a person coming from Manipur, and also to all my brothers and sisters back in Manipur.
Thank you so much for coming to our studio and shedding some light on Manipur and as well as in the international relations. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's indeed a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you.
உலக தமிழ் சொந்தங்களுக்கு வணக்கம். நான் ராஜவேல் நாகராஜன். பேசு தமிழா பேசு வலையொலியுடைய வளர்ச்சிக்கு நீங்களும் உறுதுணையாக இருக்கணும்னு நினச்சிங்கன்னா இந்த வீடியோடைய டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷனில் இருக்கக்கூடிய ரேசர் பே லிங்கை கிளிக் பண்ணுங்கள். அந்த லிங்க்கில் போயிட்டு உங்களுக்கு விருப்பமான தொகையை பேசு தமிழா பேசுவனுடைய வளர்ச்சிக்கு உங்களுடைய பங்களிப்பாக நீங்கள் கொடுக்கலாம். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.